Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Brush Sauce Theater. This week I'll be painting a photo study, stylizing it, and be talking about the value of doing deconstruction sketches. So in front of me today I have basically some deconstruction sketches and some other examples of breaking images down in terms of style and figuring out, okay, what do I need to take or extract from an image that can help, serve my purposes. So here's a photo that one of my students used from my design class. And what we did this week is we take our photo reference for our location shooting when we design our scenes, and we try to break them down into different planes, into different shapes, and basically draw the contour lines through them so we can really understand the geographical location. But this applies to anything. It applies to characters, it applies to architecture, it applies to objects, anything. We just break things down and we can understand them. That way we can recreate them from any angle is ultimately the goal and the idea. And so when we do that, and if we actually break down a composition as well in terms of figuring out the major areas of motion, implied line, and curves, we can figure out how we can direct the viewer's eye in and around our scene. And so here's how my student Nicholas is taking that photo reference and kind of breaking it down and manipulating it so he can use it to work for his story moment, to sell the idea of this establishing shot for his scene, pretty much one-to-one, and that's really helping his ideas here. Now another student here wants to do something in the style of Chuck Jones from like the classic Looney Tunes, Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote cartoons. So if you wanted to adapt a style or work a style, for instance, in your own work, one of the best assets or exercises you can do is take some examples of that work and really take your own notes and try to break things down to understand these things. It may seem silly maybe for some of you at first to do something like this, but it's absolutely a necessity to really understand. It makes you think about things maybe a little bit of a deeper manner that you haven't before. And a lot of professionals do this sort of thing, and a lot of style guides and art direction notes always kind of resort to this. So by kind of practicing this on your own, you can begin to understand the languages and the terminology of doing such thing like this. How lines work, is texture implied or is it direct? Maybe what materials did the artist make for this occasion? How does the artist stylize lighting, form, and shadow? Are things simple? Are they complex? And yeah, it's a really great way to just understand things and basically art direct yourself and your images, whether you're working on a smaller project or a larger one. Lastly, here's another great example of that, taking that set reference stuff down and taking your notes, though a little harder to see in this case, but really kind of just understanding things quite a bit better, and breaking out the different planes and the pictorial space, and then you can art direct it yourself and recompose and design it so you can basically have it work for your image, whatever you're kind of going for. So that's some of the things we cover in my design program. And so yeah, I'll go on now to show a demonstration of me kind of doing this in action. Alright, so moving forward, this is a clip actually from my newest tutorial on environment stylization. And it's available today. Shameless plug. But anyway, I'm doing what I was just explaining. I'm taking my photographic reference here, and I'm doing a deconstruction sketch over it, so I can break down the forms, the planes, and the shapes. Those three kind of main important things. And this will help me kind of understand things, so when I go to do my sketch, which I have over here on the side, I can not only simplify what's there in the means of, or in the name of stylization, but I can improve the overall composition and the flow. The photograph, as nice as it is, it's not exactly what I want. I want to have the house that's covered up right now to be a stronger of a focal point. I want there to be more form in the foreground, and I want to have the overall image have more balance and flow to it. And so that's what I'm looking to create. I'm stylizing the overall shapes of the mountains. I'm simplifying them so they're not as noisy or jittery. And I'm trying to definitely keep that variety of the big, medium, and small in terms of shapes and the rhythm of those shapes to improve them quite a bit. And so that's that first glow. That's the first kind of pass. And so here's kind of just that example now as I'm highlighting here that that's the actual shape of the mountains. And as you can see, that's very noisy. So again, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to take that same statement and simplify it so that it's a little more, it's easier on the eye, and I'm basically just art directing nature itself. And that's a really fun exercise in itself. So if you've always wanted to get into drawing something and you want to add some style to it, definitely start with a piece of nature, whether it's a still life or it's a plein air painting or drawing, or you're doing figure study, but take life and try to stylize that before you just try to create things out of your head and do some kind of stylized version of that. Because if you don't understand the proportions or how nature or an anatomy works, you'll end up with something that looks very wonky. And so yeah, I'm really reinforcing how these rhythm and the movement and the lines can go in and out of my canvas. I want to do not only X and Y type of depth, but Z space as well, going to and from that distance. And that's where a lot of my students and a lot of more novice artists kind of mistake things. They make things that appear very overly flat and simple, like I'm just drawing here, where it's just like the series of a stage of a play in terms of props, but we actually want to show all the area and the space going in the background into the foreground as well. And now I finally just break in and painting things. And the first objective when doing a study in this sort of manner is what I do is try to break down all the major shapes and the colors. And with the colors, of course, I'm going for approximating their values. Now, if you're trying to improve your sensibility regarding color, do not color pick from your photo reference. Absolutely not. That will not help you. And you basically want to learn to interpret these colors in whatever reference you're taking from a lot better. And so that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just kind of eyeing it. I'm squinting at my photo reference, and I'm trying to interpret what's there. Now, I usually find it best when doing these sort of things to use the larger brushes and go basically from thick to thin and work from the background to the foreground, meaning the sky, the clouds, the mountains, and then all the way to the trees and the grass that we see that are, appear in the pictorial space closest to us. And I just block out the larger areas of shadow generally, and then lay in like in something as complex as a grass, big areas of color and shape. It's not about texture for me at that point. Texture can get noisy and it can get distracting, and you'll get caught up using like gimmicky texture brushes. Just paint the grass as simple as you can represent it, I would recommend, just to keep the speed and the looseness going forward, as well as keeping the shapes rather simple. And I have some of the details in it at this point, but before I go into heavy details, what I basically like to do is block things out as simply as I can. Like, I got the house, I got the clouds, the trees, all the major elements are in play at this point, and this is typically maybe about 45 minutes into it, and then I realize that I like to save all the details for that, for any extra time that I have left, and I time lapse it here a bit and cleaned up a lot of the edges. I sculpted out the tree shapes a lot in the background, and I tried to give it a nice sort of flow. So I'm really kind of finding this fun and relaxing at this point, and I really do love trying to stylize reality and to simplify things and to make things work out for the best. How about you guys? What is your favorite type of style? Are you do you like to gravitate more toward things in reality? Do you like more simplified and stylized edges? Do you like things to look extra kind of sleek or exaggerated? Let me know what your favorite types of style are in the comments. And if you have any kind of questions or suggestions, of course, for future topics moving forward with the show. Alright, so what are the takeaways from this episode? A, if you're having trouble drawing, designing, or comprehending any subject matter, do a deconstruction sketch overlay over it. Take some notes, figure out the direction you need to go in. B, if you're going to use style and you want to add more style to your picture, define what those stylization parameters are. You can't just blindly try to stylize something out without kind of understanding or knowing what specifically you're going to stylize about a particular subject matter. So again, do that from reality first, and start with the focal points, design your whole scene around what the focal point's going to be, and then fill in the blanks after the major elements are put in. And again, this was just kind of using some footage from my newly released tutorial, Stylizing Environments 1. If you're finding any of this kind of subject matter interesting, you want a more in-depth and comprehensive look at it, check it out in my store. It's very affordable, and it will run about 2 hours in length. It has various lectures and resources with it as well. So thank you, and take care. Thank you for watching my video. If you found it helpful, please leave me a like. If you want to help me out, please share it with your friends. I'm also on Facebook, where I have a subscribe button where you can get newsletters and discount info. I'm also on Twitter, where I update and post images almost regularly. If you want a chance to mingle and meet other like-minded individuals such as yourself, join the Brushtosh community. Free and open to anyone, of course, through the Google+. And finally, if you'd like to inquire about my mentorship program, head over to tyleredlinart.com, click on the mentorship tab, scroll through, read over some of the guidelines, and feel free to check out several of my testimonial videos on my YouTube channel itself.